guys, it's Juliet here. Today we're going to be making petals, something that looks a little bit like a zinnia or one of these multi-petaled flower heads. This is very similar to the technique that I used when we made the snowy Christmas tree, which I'll put a link up above for that if you haven't seen that. So it's basically sort of fringing off of a right angle weaved unit, and on the back I've used a slightly darker color here, which just helps to pick up the little more 3D, it just kind of lifts the petals a little bit so you can see it. So I recommend using a contrast color for the base. The one we're going to be doing today, I haven't quite finished it yet. And the fun thing about this, you can make it as big as you want. You can keep going and going and going. So this is the one we're going to make today. And they're very soft. They don't kind of stand up, but they can curve over things. And you can actually sew them onto, you know, a backing if you need it to be firm. But I mean, for a bracelet or something, it would be quite comfortable just to leave it soft. I mean, it's not completely floppy, but they probably wouldn't hold up for earrings unless you put maybe a metal ring or something to help make it sturdy. But it's such a cool look, I think, the way it kind of ruffles. And I will do another video to show you how to do this as a rope, which also looks really cool. So let's go ahead and just dive in. Okay, so I have here 3 different colors of beads, which I'm going to use to make my flower today. And it'll also help to show you the top and the bottom. And it'll give some dimension to my flower as well. Okay, so to begin, I'm just going to pick up 4 beads, which will be my starting circle. Now, my starting circle can be as big or as small as I want. If you don't want it to have a center, you can obviously make, if you just want to make like a big donut shape, you can do that. So I'm just going to push this down, leaving a tail, and I'll just go through all 4 of those again. Let me bring you in a teensy bit. There we go. So I'm just forming a loop with my thread, and then I'm going to go through that very first one again to pull it all into a little square like this. So my petals that I'm doing are essentially 5 beads. You can make your petals as big or as small as you want, obviously, but I'm doing mine as 5 beads. So I'm going to use this gold color here. So pick up 4 beads initially, and let me flip myself over here. Okay, so I'm coming out the top. That's my working thread. I have my 4 seed beads, and I'm going to go through that bead again. Okay, so that's going to again form a little loop. Then I'm going to pass through the first 2 beads again, and I'm going to pick up 1 more, and that's kind of the point of my petal. And I'll go back down the other side, so the 2 on the other side. Sorry, my fingers are in the way. I'll have to hold it or it'll go flying off screen. So I should have a little kind of petal shape like that, and then I just pass through that base bead to finish it all off. Okay, so now I'm going to move forward into my next bead of my original square of 4. So I'm just moving in a circular direction, and I'm going to repeat this. So I'm going to pick up my 4 beads. So I'm leaving off the point of my petal on the first pass, and then I go back up the first 2 beads. I pick up that 5th bead, and then I go down the other 2. Okay. And then I pass through that base bead again. Then I move forward again to the next bead. And I'm just going to repeat. I'm going to pick up 4, go up the first 2, pick up 1, then I'm going to go through the base bead, move forward through the next base bead, and I'll repeat. So I will come back in a second. Okay, so I just added my point on this petal and I'm exiting here, so I'm just going to move forward through into my base bead. Okay, so I have all 4 of my petals on for the first layer. So now we need to start the second layer. So I'm going to use a combination of gold and red beads for this. So I'm going to pick up a gold, a red, a gold, and this is just so you guys can see a little easier for now, okay? And I'm going to go through that same bead again, and I just want this to sit on the top for a second. I'm going to pass into my next bead. And this layer is a little bit different than subsequent layers, which you'll see in a minute. So again, I'm going to pick up a gold, red, gold, and I'm going to go through my base bead. And I just want to keep that on top of my petal. A gold, red, gold. Oh, no, I need to move forward into the base bead. Always make sure that you're coming out of the next base bead there, okay? A gold, a red, a gold. Go through that base bead again and make sure that this is on top. Okay, good. And then I'm going into my last little red base bead right there. And I'm going to pick up my gold, red, gold. And I'm going to pass through that one again. Checking that that's the only bead that I'm going through. It's getting a little trickier to see what's what here. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move up through the gold bead on the side of the unit that we just added. Okay. And I'm going to enter into the first red bead right here. Okay, so I'm coming out from the red bead. So right now our flower is actually upside down. This is the bottom and this is the top, okay? All right, so I'm gonna pick up 3 red beads, and I'm going to sew into the next red bead. Okay, now here there's no math involved. You can just pick up however many you think is appropriate to get over to the next bead. So I'm gonna maybe do 4 here. Let's see if that's a little, yeah, that's fine. 4 is good as well. Okay, here I'll do 3 and then I'll do 4. Okay, so 3 into the next red bead. And 4 into the next red bead right here, okay? All right, so this is the top and this is the bottom. Okay, so we've got our ring and we have our first row of flower. So now we're going to begin to add our next row of ring and flower simultaneously. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a petal. So I'm going to pick up my 4 coming out this bead. I'm going to go straight back into it again and up the first 2. So just like we've been doing to do our petals. And then I'm going to go through that bead and into the second bead. So this one is going to be where we put a base. So we're going to pick up a gold, a red, a gold again. And that red is going to be our indication of which bead we're joining. So go through that base bead plus the next bead. Okay. And again, here we're going to put another petal. So go ahead, pick up your 4. Go through the same bead again. And add that last little bit on the petal. And then go through that bead plus the next bead. Okay, so there's my second petal on this layer. Okay, so here I'm going to add another base bead. So I'm going to do a gold, red, gold. Again, I'm coming out this bead here. If you get a little confused, you can just turn it to the side. Okay, and then I'm going through that bead again plus the next bead. So I've got 2 of my next base beads in place, okay? And I have 2 petals. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way around. Now, sometimes you might not have enough room to do another petal or another base. That's okay. Just join your next layer and move on up. And I'll show you that in a minute. So go ahead and fill in the rest of your petal base, as far as you can go. And if you get to where you're going to put a base next to another base or a petal right next to another petal, just leave it blank. Don't put anything there. Okay, it's better to have a gap than to put too much stuff in. Okay, so I will come back when I have finished this layer. Okay, so I'm just adding my last gold, red, gold onto my base bead here. And there is actually one more bead, but I have a petal right next to it. So I just added onto this bead and I'm coming out of a blank bead, but my very next bead has a petal. So I don't want to add 2 petals right next to each other. So I'm just going to leave it blank. Okay. So I'm going to sew forward until I come out from the base of where, on the ring, where my next one with a red bead is. So I just need to move forward like 2 beads here. And it might be different for you, and it depends on what layer you're on as well. Okay, so I'm at this right angle weave unit here now. That's a base. Okay, so I'm going to just sew up through the side bead. And I'm going to sew through the red bead here. And this is where it gets a little bit random, okay? So there is no perfect number that usually fits. You kind of have to just eyeball it. And I tend to do a mixture of 4 and 3. So like that's a pretty good big gap right there. So I'm going to do 4. And I'm going to sew into my next, and just check that you're not skipping a base here, but I don't think I am. So I'm going to go over into my next red bead, and then here I'll do 3. So you're just going to fill in all the gaps where your red beads are to form our next like outer ring, our base ring, okay? So here I think I'll do, oops, I think I'll just drop it. That's what I'll do. Okay, I'm going to do 3, I think. Okay, and maybe I'll do 4 over to the next one. So what you want is you kind of want it to be as flat as you can possibly get it. And like I say, if it's a little bit random, it's good. The flower just looks more natural. Kind of looks like a target now, as you can see. The next one looks like quite a big jump, so I'm going to do 4 here, and then I'll do 3 here. And I'll do another 3 here. And then I might do 4 for this last jump. Okay. It's okay, I went through 2. All right, so it's pretty flat. It's it's a little bit curved maybe, but all right. So you can run around again if you want to reinforce it, but as we'll be sewing through it to do all of our petals, I'm not going to. So this time you're moving in the opposite direction each time, because we move up through a right angle weave. We're going counterclockwise, then clockwise, then counterclockwise. So you're going to have to learn how to bead in 2 directions. If it helps you, you can just flip it over. Like if you can only bead in an anti-clockwise direction, counterclockwise direction, just flip it over and work on the back this time. And then you can flip it back over and work on the front, okay? So here I'm going to start doing slightly lighter petals, because I want my flower to look a bit lighter as it goes out. And I think that'll look nice. So I'm just going to continue doing exactly the same thing. So I'm just going to pick up my 4 beads for my petal, which I'm doing the lighter one this time. Go through that same bead again. Go down through the 2, just like what we've been doing the whole time along, okay? Pick up 1, go down the other side. And if you find that you're getting a weird little bump of thread, it's just because the first time you went, it wasn't tight. So just give this a little tug and it'll pull that little bump right down in there. And then you can tighten that up. Like if you notice it later on, just pull on the end and then pull that. Okay, so here is my next one. So I'm going to be doing the base. So I'm just going to, actually I think I'm going to do, because I'm using the lighter gold here, I'm going to use the darker gold for the whole underside here. So I'm just picking up my 3 from my right angle weave unit and going through those beads. And then I'm picking up my petal beads, which are my lighter gold, going through the next. And basically you can repeat this as many layers outwards as you want to, as big as you want it to get. And on your very last layer that you do, you're only going to add petals on the outside edge. But you know, it's kind of zen once you get going. You're like, should I do one more ring? Maybe I should. I don't know. And you just keep going forever and ever. Anyway, so obviously the last ring just has petals. As you can see here, you're not going to do your next row of right angle weave. So just keep going until you make it as big or as small as you want it to be. So I'm just going to finish this ring and then put one more ring of petals, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, as I'm going, I'm kind of lifting my base beads up and I'm pushing my petal beads down as I go in order to just make it a lot easier when I get to the end of the row. And also you may find that your ring starts to get a little loose, so it's absolutely recommended and okay to go back and reinforce that ring, even the inner rings, once you're done, just to make sure that those rings are set in place. Okay, so I finished my flower and I absolutely love it. It's kind of giving me like Beauty and the Beast vibes, honestly. So there are a few options of what to do here. I have sewn mine onto a metal finding. So now that is nice and solid and I can use that on its own. I could hang it from one of these little loops if I wanted, or I could incorporate it into a bigger piece of jewelry. You could sew it onto a little bit of fabric if you wanted, or you could use the rings and kind of build some right angle weave units off of, some craw units or some peyote, like a peyote ring or something, and sew it onto that. So, you know, there are options whether you want it soft or you want it hard. Okay, so anyway, I hope you try this technique, and there's really no right or wrong, like I said. It's just building up your fluffies as you go, and you can make it as big or as small as you want to go. You can even expand your petals a little bit bigger as you go if you want to. Anyway, I just love the way it looks and the depth of it with the two colors in there. Yes, I was gonna say, if you haven't joined our Facebook group, head on over there. It's called Jules and Rose's Beading Buds, and I will put the link, you know, for the group down below. We'd love to see you there if you're not already in there. Just make sure that you do answer the membership questions so that Rose, whose name is actually Sarah, but that's her nickname. So Rose and I were the admins, and we'll know to let you in because you're not a robot. Okay, so you guys, I'll see you next week, and I will show you how to do this as a rope next week, which is also really fun, and it's actually easier than the circular method. So I'll see you then. Take care for now. Thanks for watching. Bye.